It's official. Style Guys is trending for the holiday season. Located 1252 Burnham Ave in Calumet City. Being black owned and operated with new items weekly, in store, and even online. And with over 50,000 followers online, you can't miss out. Sales going on till 2022. Like jogging suits, hoodies, t-shirts, Jordan Craig, smoke rides, crisp, sweaters, and so much more. So beat the lines and order online from Style Guys, 1252 Burnham Ave in Calumet City. Contact them today at 708-801-9481. Again, 708-801-9481. Or check them out from Tuesday to Saturday from noon to 7 p.m. or Sundays from noon to 5 p.m. Style Guys, 1252 Burnham Ave in Calumet City. Life, fashion, style. Follow some of the newest styles by Style Guys in Calumet City. Lock in The Style Guys on IG or look them up, thestyleguys.com. Gone wild!
Sit your ass down! Sit your ass down!
No escaping this. 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 No escaping this.
No one's ready to deal with us.
No escaping this. No escaping this. No escape.
No one's ready to deal with us.
No escaping this. No escaping this. No escape.
No one's ready to deal with us.
No escaping this. No escaping this. No escape.
No one's ready to deal with us.
You are listening to the End of the Bench podcast on Built for This Network, hosted by my man HRap.
Good evening. This is your man HRap coming at you live and direct. This is a podcast called Rap Sessions, where me, RaiderKev, and Charlotte have conversations about random topics. It should be enjoyable. I want to do what I always do. This is a podcast. That means you can catch us at any time on Built for This Network on Spreaker.com. Search Built for This Network. You can find us on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, or wherever you download your favorite podcast. Thank you for tuning in every Thursday where you have me, myself, Charlotte, RaiderKev, and I say every week the remainder of my family, everybody connected to the Williams family, everybody connected to the Pollard family, whether it be friend, family, or associate. God bless you. Salute to all of respect to all of our ancestors. Salute to you. How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic, man. Fantastic. Great day. I'm above ground, so I'm doing great.
Yes. Good to be seen, not viewed.
Exactly.
I got my man Fly Tie in the building. What's good, bro?
So fly.
Charlotte, how you doing? How was your day? How was your week? How was your month? How's it going?
This week was much better. Last week it was kind of scary. I had a little emergency with one of my students.
Yes.
And this week is good because now, woohoo, spring break.
Hey,
Finally.
no more being held back by the man. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, with that being said, if you are on,
How about your week, man? How your week been
Yes.
going? You always ask about ours. How your week, man?
Thank you, Kev.
I'm addicted to this crack. No, it's fine. I'm good, man. It's just another 5 day, 5, 7, 10 day, 168 hours until I become a billionaire. You know.
There you go.
I'm
On the road.
become a billionaire. Exactly. But man, this is and always will be an awesome program. We have random questions this evening, and the questions are about this is the third part of a 3-part series on substances. The first one was about marijuana. Last week was about alcohol. This one is going to be called about illicit drugs. And a lot of people have a bunch of questions, concerns. And if you are listening, you can chime in and ask any questions. Don't worry about derailing the show. That's what it's about. If you are on Facebook, please hit the thumbs up or like. Whatever you do to a picture that you like, do that to the show. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, share, tell a friend to tune in. It is greatly appreciated. And subscribe. Subscribe. And if you are on Facebook and you want to tell somebody, have them reach out to me and and add them to the Build and Destroy group. Add them to the Build and Destroy group. If you feel this is something that should be shared with your friends and family, add them to the group, and we will hopefully entertain, inform, and enrich them. Drugs. This is a scary word. This is a fun word. This is a word that brings about terror, horror, crime, violence, a ton of things. When somebody says drugs, what do you guys think of? I'm gonna go to you first, Charlotte. When someone says drugs, what's the first thing pops in your mind?
I think of broken people.
Mm.
To be honest, that's what I think of. I don't see anything. I should see more positive in it, but whether it's street drugs or prescription drugs, I just see it as a dependency instead of an actual healing. So I don't have any real positive thoughts about it, unfortunately.
Okay. Same question for you, Kev.
Yeah, for me, whenever I hear drugs, I associate with warning, because I grew up in an atmosphere that where the mindset, I should say, that once you get on drugs, it's a life, altering event. Your life is going to, go down. It's never a positive. Even when you're talking about, the dangers in prescription drugs. Your doctor writes you a prescription. You go to the dentist. You write you a prescription, and you get those painkillers. And in my mind, I'm like, I want to avoid that because I don't want to get hooked. So whenever I hear drugs, I'm just trained to hear warning. So I just try to stay away from them as much as I can.
Man, great points to both of you guys, and I'm glad you brought that up because that is the inroads to the very first question. We got D Great, and my sister Golden Brooks is in the building, and I know my older sister, she's watching in the background. Thank you, everybody who's listening in the background. Please hit that thumbs up, that like button. With either one, please. If you want to participate, again, this can potentially be a heavy conversation, and if you want to participate, just write something in the chat room, man, or well, actually, I got my block on, so you can't text me, but sucks to be you. But yeah, just come in the chat room, say something, and then dip back out if you want to. The first question of the day, I'm going to go back to you, Kev. Is it you and Charlotte brought this up? Prescription drugs. Is there a difference in prescription drugs and street drugs?
Well, I think they're kind of merging. All right, there's kind of a merger in this area. So I always thought of street drugs as something that is put together by unlicensed individual. So, your meth, your coke, your heroin, those things to me are I consider them street drugs because someone who didn't go to school for that, maybe, but in essence are not a professional drug maker, so to speak. And they're putting this thing together for a purpose of just getting you high, getting you hooked, getting you high. I think of legal drugs, right, as prescription drugs, right? Something that a doctor writes you out a script and he gives it to you. But we're now seeing when a lot of these prescription drugs are being abused, they're emerging. I think a lot of it might be a drug that was legally made, but now it has a purpose of just strictly getting you high, getting you hooked, getting you caught up, and it's for just basically for your personal pleasure. It's not not part of the healing process, like it was probably designed at some point. So that's how I view the difference of the two, so that's prescription to me. I just, like I said, it's by a professional. It's supposed to have a purpose of healing you when it doesn't. It's just basically now being used for the most part to get you high.
Charlotte, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I agree with RaiderKev. So we're told that supposedly prescription drugs are regulated and monitored for our safety. But as RaiderKev says, there's been a lot of abuse with them. And street drugs, I just always see them as being unregulated, and we never know what's being added to them. And so that makes them even more dangerous to me, just because of that unknown factor. That middle person could be adding anything to them. And so everybody reacts differently to them, and I think that takes away all the safety. So.
Well, I have kind of a jaded opinion of this because I look at it a little different. I think they're exactly the same. And my experience recently kind of changed my mind. I used to think I want to help, want to hurt. My recent experience changed my mind. I'm in pain. I'm currently in pain. I have a back injury and was re-injured recently. So I'm looking at it differently because I'm not getting physical treatment like I see a chiropractor twice a week, and she does a wonderful job. And it's just the natural course of events. I want to see a pain specialist. I'm going to see this person 4 times now. 2 different people, 3 times. And the first thing they did was give me they mailed me drugs today. Went and picked them up from my house on the west side. And they gave me drugs. They prescribed me drugs. Salute to my sister Arlene and my homeboy Joe. Was good. Thank you. Please hit that like button, that thumbs up, or that heart, preferably the heart. But so it's getting to the point where when I start to find out things like it's like there are certain things like also high blood pressure. You can eat chili peppers. You can eat garlic. You can eat a bunch of things that'll speed up your blood flow. When you speed up your blood flow, slows down your blood pressure. The natural things that you can do, and they never give you these naturally. And then they tell you, you're going to be on this medication forever. So you were always told medication is for a temporary situation, and to get you, that's what we were told. And when we talk to, speak to our grandparents or great grandparents or anybody, our elders, let's just say our elders, they would give you something and take this for a week and you'll be cool. And then whatever was bothering you, it would be a natural situation and that would alleviate the pain or what have you. Now it's just to get you to the next situation. So if the doctors are getting kickbacks for making you take these pills and they can just instruct you to do something else like blood pressure, celery, beets, like I said, peppers and things of that nature keeps your blood flowing, exercise more, change your diet. They don't push that anymore. They push take these pills. So how are they different? And then next thing you know, you are dependent upon those pills. How are they different from the dude who's standing on the corner who just handing you something out of the baggie or delivering you something in a baggie? So at this point in my life, I don't think it's. I think it's the exact same thing. Street drug dealers are just people who are looked upon as a scourge of the earth. But how many of our grandparents, when they transition, had a big bag of pills?
Right.
Shout out to my grandmother, my dear. They would give all those drugs. She transitioned earlier than we wanted her to. She had a full life though. I'm not gonna act like she died at 25 or 50. I think she died at like 60 or 70, something like that. She died 29 years ago, 30 years ago now. In December it'd be 30 years because BJ, she died the year before, like December, and BJ was born in September. So I bring that up is she used to always say they sent her home with a bunch of drugs. She was like, go get me some Anderson, go get me a Pepsi or a 7-Up, whichever, I can't remember. I think it was a 7-Up. 7-Up. Give me a 7-Up because there ain't no cure for old age. And eventually she had a stroke and transition. But but guess what? Had we just changed our diet, if we change our diet and things of that nature, a lot of those illnesses that we get drugs from the medical professionals
Right.
who are getting kickbacks for giving you those drugs,
Right.
we might be in a better situation. So that's why I say I don't really see a difference in these street people and the corner people, because at least the dude on the corner ain't lying to you.
Right.
Dude,
That's true.
dude with the lab coat lying, because I'm gonna give you this, even though it may not work, but that does work. But if I give it out to enough people, they give me some extra money. The dude on the corner say, "Look, man, this is what it is.
Right.
It's killing you, but you like it here."
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
that's why I say,
Hey,
hey,
man, to piggyback on and to co-sign what you're saying, man, my father, he always took, a multitude of drugs, right? And he had, what was it? His liver? It was his liver. He had, or kidneys, one of the two. Kidneys. It was the kidneys. So he had to have a surgery, right? And they removed one, and he was, it was a big thing, right? And he went from his local doctor, which is actually still my doctor, right, to a doctor in Houston where he had his operation. And they started looking at his scripts, and it was like, "Why are you taking this? Why are you taking that?" Why? So they went down the line, and it's like, "You don't need to take all this stuff." And he's like, "Well, that's what I was, I was told this is what I need." He said, "No, you don't need all this stuff." So he went from taking, probably over a dozen drugs, right, to only taking maybe one or two, and it was just to control or to combat the problems he was having with his kidneys, right?
Mhm.
All the other stuff that he thought he had problems with really wasn't a problem,
Mhm.
and he's healthier now than he's
Mhm.
ever been.
Exactly.
Yet
Garlic
all
is
these
another
drugs
one.
was prescribed to him in the past when it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, garlic is another one that helps with your pressure. So yeah, like I said, man, and I'm dealing with that right now. I'm gonna take the drugs for now, knock off this COVID weight, and then get back to normal. You know what I mean? And I just reincorporate, because I used to eat a clove of garlic every morning.
Yeah.
Eat a clove of garlic every morning, and as I ate the clove of garlic, and I had beets, everything that I just said to y'all, cucumbers and all that. I used to drink that.
Right.
I used to have a smoothie every morning. I knocked off like 80 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and my blood pressure went down. And I could tell when my blood pressure is high, just in accordance to what my feet look like. When my feet look bony, I'm like, I'm good. And if they look puffy a little, I'm like, hey, my pressure's up. So it's just, I can't. I'm gonna see this. I'm gonna see in 168 hours. I'll be able to tell you if the doctor told me to lose weight versus take drugs.
Yeah.
We got Peggy in the building. We got Shock Strong in the building. It's always good to see you. Peggy said my grandmother took along aloe vera she grew in her vegetable and flowers she made in her own concoctions. She didn't take a lot of prescription drugs, and she lived to be 87 years old.
There you go.
Exactly. I got my man Big Dawk in the building, King Dawk in the building. Thank you for being a participant in the show.
Hey, dog.
And that's exactly what we're talking about. It's just a situation where these drugs. That's why I say I don't see a difference, man. In these situations, we've made one of them the boogeyman, and we
Right.
made the other one just a situation to whereas they're helping us, but are they helping us? Are these drugs? I don't see these people at these doctors' offices. They just better dressed drug dealers. That's all it is. I got my man, the show killer DJ Mad Knox, and I got Big Compton in the building. Big Cicero and Ashley. I'm at Cicero and Monroe on the building. I mean Illinois. My fault. Dang, I keep messing it up. Since we are talking about what is known as illicit drugs, there you go, Kev. Have you ever been offered what is known, identified as illicit drugs, and how did you respond? I didn't put the how did you respond, but put that on there.
Yeah.
Well, what
So,
was it?
like I mentioned, man, when I I had this idea. I always had this idea when I was young. It took one time, and you hook for life. You know what I'm saying? So I always was weary of just trying something, right? So and if you notice earlier when I was talking about street drugs, I never mentioned marijuana because I never thought about marijuana as really being like a street drug. I always identified street drugs as like your uppers, your downers, your meth, your coke, your heroin, those type of things I thought was like street drugs.
Sugar.
I never identified marijuana as a street drug, to be honest with you, right? It was just, so I never try. I was always weary of trying something for one time. Just try it, man. I never fell for that because I had it in my mind. You try it one time, and your life is over. You're a bum on the street. That's it. You're over, right? So, yeah. I mean, like everybody, I think you've tried. People have tried to introduce you to it, and I just never tried it. Never did.
What was it?
And never will. Never will, But I don't know, man. I say I smoke weed, but I mean, I never really thought I never was a weed person, man. It never really did nothing for me. It was I got high off of alcohol than I did marijuana. So it just never was. I never really thought it was a drug. I mean, I knew it was a drug. Don't get me wrong. I understood that. But I'm just saying I never identified in that way, right?
So marijuana was the drug?
Huh?
Marijuana was the one that you was offered?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I was offered everything, man. I've been offered. Only thing I haven't been offered was because in our town, man, our little small town, not cocaine, heroin wasn't a big thing. It was. I mean, I'm sure it's there now, but it never was a big thing, So the only thing in our town that was offered was meth, cocaine, and it really wasn't, the powder never was offered to me, but crack, so that's really the only things, and then all type of, uppers and downers, that was always around. I never took those things, because like I said, I don't know who it was, somebody in my family embedded in me. You try it one time, your life is over. That's it. So I was able to stay away from them because I had that mentality.
I'm going to say something that Shaka Strong just said. The real farm, as in planting a seed, pharmacy, is what we grow from the earth, grow and eat from the gardens. The pharmacy, as in pharma, big pharma, it gets where we get our meds from. It's killing us. Food is the true medicine. Shout out to Shaka. And I got my man Big Kirby in the building. Much love. Good to see Kirby. Dog said, come on, Kev. He said, come see him. Charlotte, talk to me. Have you ever been offered drugs? And what was it and how did you handle it?
Never. I've been a nerd all my life. I don't know if there's something about me. Never, ever been offered. And it's interesting that RaiderKev says he never thought of marijuana as a street drug, but because of the time we grew up in the 70s, I did. I saw it as a street drug.
Okay.
And I was with my cousin several times when she made the purchase, and she partook. I tried weed one time, and I was in my 40s, and this same relative who I was with, it's just funny. I don't know. I just bring out, I guess, this protective instinct in people around me because she knew I was a teacher and she was so terrified of me getting caught with it. It was funny. I felt like we were DEA or something. Even if she purchased it, she was extra careful just because I was in the car with her. And so I tried it once. But like RaiderKev, I was always that kid who stayed away from drugs because I said, watch, I would be the one who tried one time and I'd be the one to die. I'd be the one on the news.
Right.
So I never did it. And my parents were very strong. I'm telling you, there is no peer pressure that could ever equal the discipline my mother was doling out with that belt. Okay, so straight, narrow, nerd, that was me all the way. I was not trying to entertain anything that would make Connie Wilson come after this behind. Okay, because so, and then the one time I tried it in my 40s, it scared me. I had a reaction, like my hearing was off. I mean, it was really scary for me. The nerd, right? In my 40s, like, oh my God, I am gonna die.
Yeah, they're good. That's what it was.
I'm about to die. You talk about the munchies. Okay, I went through all my cousin's chips. I was like, yeah, okay, we can leave this alone. But that was it. No.
Well, I got both of y'all beat. Here's the crazy part. I've never tried to get high in my life. Like 65. I mean, you know what? 75, 85 to 95% of my homeboys, they smoke weed. A couple of them have been caught out there. You know, they jumped off the porch, as we say in Chicago. My first experience with drugs is maybe like 82, 83. Me and my sister Phyllis, who's in this chat room, we were watching this movie called Body and Soul. And it's Leon Isaac Kennedy, and he had this white dude who was his best friend, who was his manager. And as a little boy, I should have been watching the movie. Phyllis used to help me break all the rules. But it wasn't malicious. You know, we were young, and you know, I got my little brother. I ain't finna let my brother watch no porn, you know. So,
Right.
But we watching it, and his homeboy, the white boy, was smoking weed, and they laced it with some PCP. But I'm too young to know what PCP is. Next thing you know, they putting homeboy in a straight jacket. I'm like, oh hell no, I ain't smoking. I'm saying like. That was my say no to drugs. I'm like, oh hell no, because you know, like I told y'all last week, Leroy McClain, Broderick Alexander, God rest his soul, and a couple other guys, my uncle Larry, God rest his soul, they made smoking weed look cool. But I was like, man, what's the weed? You know, as a little kid, you're like, that's what cool guys do. So as I'm a little older, homeboy in this movie, he freaked out. So I say, oh hell no, weed. This, you know, because when you're a little kid, TV is real, and whatever you see on TV, that's really happening. So, and my mother was like 44% bloodhound. Shit, about 64% bloodhound. You know, I used to walk. My mother had a funny way of disciplining you. You walk with me because you know you a boy, and little boys stink all the time. But I didn't know that, you know, because we in the weeds and all this. I would walk in the house. Boy, you stink. Go take a shower. I'm like, damn, the door ain't even closed. So she traumatized me with that. So smoking weed wasn't an option because I'm like, how am I gonna smoke this weed and get in the house and not smell like weed? She gonna smell it. So then try weed until I was 16. I'm 16 years old. I say, I'm gonna smoke this weed. I'm gonna see what this was to this weed. And I'm walking down the street called Washburn in our old neighborhood. Shout out to the old neighborhood. And we right in front of Robert's store, which usually my granddad is standing there. But on my birthday, 1986, the dudes I grew up with, Michael Page and those guys, they walked up on me. Me and Michael Page share a birthday. They got this giant ass bag of weed. It was like 50 sack. I'm like, because I had said this, I had planned it out. I said, I'm gonna smoke this weed, come down off my high, shoot basketball for the rest of the day. I'm gonna come back so musty, she ain't gonna smell the weed. So I'm like, okay, cool. And they tried the after school special. Man, it's gonna make you cool. I'm like, man, what? I'm already cool. I play football. I'm on a football team. I'm on a baseball team. What do I'm cool. And it pissed me off. Fast forward 3 years, I am to this day known as he don't smoke. Or you don't mess around, you know, because then at this point, crack is taking over. So I ain't trying no crack. I ain't messing with no heroin. So it's like, whatever, man. 3 years later, dropped out of school and everything. You know, I'm working at this Subway, and I'm hooping up at this place called Oz Park, right outside of DePaul University. And it was the end of the day. They went on a beer run and left me and my homeboy. I ain't gonna say his name. He go, "Hey man, you want something?" And I'm thinking, "Oh, he got to be on his own because everybody, the guys, want to get the beer." I said, "What you talking about?" He say, "This." He had a little blue bag of heroin. I said, "Whoa, hey man, I'm at the starter level. You ain't got no rookie drugs."
Right.
These rookie drugs.
Get you in the majors leagues.
Like,
The majors already.
You an all-star level. I'm at entry. You all mad. So the next day, I'm like, man. But at the time, he seemed normal. I didn't think the drugs was affecting him. I'm like, So me and the dude, the funny thing is, his name was Scott Jordan. He's a white boy. He used to call himself, because he had biracial siblings. He was the only white guy, all white guy in his name. I mean, in his house. And he used to call himself the Hunky Devil. So Scott was like, "You ain't never got high, man. I'm going to get you high." I'm like, "No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I don't need no high. This liquor is doing it real good, you know."
Right.
There's some Cisco was the drink at the time, you know. And Scott was like, "Hey, man, so you ain't going to smoke no weed? You don't use cocaine? I know you ain't going to use no heroin." I said, "Yeah, I ain't doing none of that, son." And he go, "Hey, man, you ever tried acid?" I said, "Acid?" And of course, me being a neophyte, I don't know nothing about no acid, and black people don't do that, you know.
Right.
I said, "Battery acid?" He said, "No." And he, man, it's a great high. He had sold me on it. Until I said, "What's the side effects, though?" He said, "Well, it ain't that bad." I said, "What's not that bad?" He goes, "Well, one time I took it in the refrigerator, winked at me." He said, "The refrigerator winked at you?" Like, hey, nah. And then he was, I said, so I'm like, okay, that might not be. I said, hallucinogenics. Okay, because then when he said that's a hallucinogenics, he said, "Yeah, once my car was breathing." And I'm like, but guess what? I was dumb enough at 19.
Who likes that?
At 19, I was dumb enough to go, because I had figured out it was the hallucinogenics that I had heard about. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Okay, there's one more." I said, "What's that?" "Well, you might be walking down the street like 8 years from now and get high again." And on that note, I'm out.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but I mean, I got plenty of homeboys, homegirls who went down that dark path, and it took them a very long time to come up out of it. So with that being said, I never tried anything because it was just like, oh hell no, I ain't doing that. You know, so it was kind of scary. Like I said, Leon Loving, Body and Soul, it kind of ruined it for me. Like, oh, he gonna smoke weed and go crazy? Oh hell, because I'll never forget, they was pulling him into the ambulance, and he had this straight jacket on him, and he was like, "But it's the monkeys." I was like, oh, I was like 11. And I was like, oh, hell no, I ain't getting that. I got Black Swan in the building. Thank you, Black Swan. Hit that like button, please. Thank you. Thank you for participating. If anybody has anything to add in, okay, my man Shaka said I watched Disco Godfather and played Black Julius 3, got hooked on PCP and snapped. It was the moment that I said, oh, hell no. Say no to drugs. By the way, Nancy Reagan. Oh, Nancy Reagan.
Nancy Reagan.
Yeah. How skinny ass. Say no to drugs. That was the dumbest shit in the world. Well, you know what? That ain't on the list, man. Talk to me about that campaign, if y'all don't mind. Because I thought that was some straight whoppy doppy, man. Say no to drugs. What did y'all think about that? That whole propaganda situation in the 80s, say no to drugs. Shout out to Whoopi Goldberg, because Whoopi Goldberg had the greatest line in the history of the world, and y'all got the floor. When she said, "How you gonna tell somebody to say no to drugs and they mama making $500 a month, and I made $1,500 today?" Shout out to Whoopi Goldberg, but y'all got the floor. Can't hear you, Kev.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, man. I thought it was, I thought that at the very beginning, it was valid. Then after a while, I'm like, just say no to drugs, all right? But she looked like she was always high. So I'm like, that's kind of a contradiction. How you gonna tell me to say no to drugs and you always high? That's the way I saw it, right? So I just thought it was just a hollow campaign. Now, especially now, when I know what was being done back in the day, right? It's like you're talking about hypocritical. I mean, that was just totally hypocritical when you pumping it into our society, into our communities. Yeah, you tell them to say no to it. You know what I'm saying? So, back then, I just thought it was funny. I thought it was a joke. Like I said, originally, I thought it was cute. I thought it was, okay, well, yeah, always say no to drug. Okay, right? This your drug. This the egg thing. They crack the egg. This your
brain
on drugs or whatever, Say, okay, yeah. And about the second, third time, I'm like, it's kind of silly. You know what I'm saying? And then I got to think, you sound like you high right now. So I don't know what you're talking about. But truly, when you really think about playback history and you know what was going on, when you realize what was going on in the community and who was doing it, oh, man, that was about the most hypocritical campaign ever played out, So, yeah, man. I think it was a joke.
Okay. Thank you, Alfred. I was laughing at you. Hey, man, good help is hard to find. Okay, Charlotte, what did you think about the Say No to Drugs campaign?
So my earliest memory of that campaign is when we were in sixth grade. About sixth grade, that came out. I didn't feel like it really applied to us. I felt like it was like that Got Milk campaign. The police officers coming telling us, don't go into gangs, don't,
Right.
stuff like that. It was like, yeah. I just felt like it was out of touch. Like, I was not aware of propaganda at that age at all, but I knew Ronald and Nancy Reagan. My parents were Democrats. They were like, yeah, whatever. So it was just disregarded. I mean, it didn't really have an impact on me or my classmates. We didn't feel like it applied to us. It was just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Peggy said the descriptions and the way you are explaining your experiences is really funny. I'm over the line, cracking up. Those are my experiences as well. Exactly, man. I mean, hey, man, that drug thing is tripped out, man. Because maybe I was just too. I always looked at drugs as the cool crowd. Regular people didn't use drugs. Like I was. I guess it was partially because of TV. You know what I mean? Because you hear terms like I remember Howard Cunningham saying Tommy Beatnik smoking those reefers, and you saw musicians in movies and TV. So I didn't think drugs was a thing. Like you said, that wasn't us. People got drugs. And shout out to my elders because even the alcoholics and the drug addicts in our neighborhood. I can remember people like my Aunt Rita and my mother. Oh, he drunk. It wasn't, he's high and don't do that. It was just like, hey, he drinking too much. And you see him and you go, well, alcohol ain't the way, So
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm with you guys, man. And then like Kev said, Kev didn't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it. When we found out that Oliver North and Ronald Reagan out here putting the drugs in the damn streets.
Right.
And HW was putting the drugs in the street, and then I don't even know if y'all remember this. Remember, he bought that big bag of crack that they had just bought outside the White House, the whole lie, and that's solely the premise of the TV show. I don't know if I said what's up to Kirby. I shouldn't have said that in. Who cares if Kirby watching? But Snowfall. It's kind of disappointing because they getting away. I didn't see last night's episode, but they kind of getting away from the situation,
right?
And getting they focusing more on Franklin Saint, which is good for entertainment purposes, but don't get too far away from Reed either.
Right,
Teddy Reed, And anyway, I don't want to get into that. But it was just a random question. Sorry for derailing us.
No, appreciate it.
Before I ask this next question, I couldn't find the video clip of this dude. And he's a PhD. A PhD. He's a brother. And he's an advocate of heroin use. And to paraphrase the way he sees it, is it's not the actual drugs that do wrong. And when I give y'all my opinions, I'll let y'all know more. He says it's not the actual drugs that's wrong. It's the stepped on portion, the chemicals that they're using in the heroin that we get on the streets. It's the problem, not the heroin itself. It's a lot of people who have had that bout with heroin and cocaine and things of that nature that will disagree with him, but it's worth. When I find it, I'm gonna post it. When I find his link, I'm gonna post it in the Build and Destroy group. That way, you can see. He'll do a better job of explaining this to me than I am. I'm gonna go to Charlotte. Is using drugs a bad thing? Is using drugs a bad thing? If so, why? And if not, why?
I said it was just because of what we touched upon earlier, that unknown factor, that cutting in. I feel like a lot of drug dealers, of course, want to make as much money as they can off of it. So they always say the danger is kind of like it sounds like what that guy is saying, like it's not pure. The fact that it's cut with the other ingredients is what's making it dangerous.
He's a 20-year heroin user. So I want to throw that in there. I'm sorry.
Total opposite of me.
Right.
But yeah, so just again, not knowing how much we can believe the news stories and the press that put out all these overdose and these deaths.
Fentanyl.
Right. That's just especially these celebrities, right? So many celebrities, I want to say. And I wasn't really paying attention, but I want to say since Michael Jackson and Prince, like all these musicians seem to be having that fentanyl overdose and all these things happening. So I just think it's very dangerous. The fact that you are literally putting your life in your dealer's hands. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know how your body's going to react to it. You don't know anything. And to me, that's very scary. That's super scary. And I'm not even educated like so many people are today. Like my daughter Gabby took a brain studies class. And from that one class, learning about the effects of all these types of drugs and how they affect your brain, she has totally like, no, that's not for me, because she's learned about all these neurological effects. And so I don't even know about all of that. I just know, something in my heart, I told you, something has always been like, don't do it. And so I just think that's very dangerous, that you are literally putting your life in these people's hands and they could just be looking to make a buck, right? So maybe they don't even know what's in it, what they're selling. They don't even know, right, what's been put into it. So I think it's very scary. I think, so in that regards, I think it's a bad thing. And then, like we said too, with doctors, I'm very cautious and very leery of doctors, so quick to write out prescriptions. Like my last primary care physician, I left her. She said, so I've been diagnosed with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, within the last 5 years. I've learned some interesting things about it. The fact that African Americans and Asians are the two highest racial groups. So it's like, okay, big arrows pointing at me, right?
Doubled up.
Genetically, doubly, yep, can't get away from it. And actually, Peggy, who's joined our broadcast, shout out to Peggy. She's also suffers from diabetes, and she told me, she said, the minute your doctor puts you on that metformin, you're going to be on it for the rest of your life. And I hate pills. I hate taking them. I don't like them. I've never liked them. And so I've tried my best to control it somewhat with the metformin, but also knowing my diet also affects my blood sugar, and trying my best to get off of it. But my primary care physician put me on I want to say it's high. I think it's also like a heart drug. Not now my cholesterol has been awesome. I've never had cholesterol problems. But she said just because I have type 2 diabetes, I'm in a higher risk category for stroke. So she's giving me this medicine. And I'm saying, but my cholesterol levels are good. I don't care what the statistics say, or just because I have diabetes. If you're looking at my numbers, and my numbers are low, and they've always been low, I'm not a fan of taking this medicine just because. Right. So I know for a fact from personal experience about the doctors with the writing of the prescriptions. So to be honest, I don't even take it until I see my levels go up where I need to be on it. No, you're not going to have me take that medicine and have my body dependent on it. And then when we hear these commercials for any of these drugs, the side effects are longer than the benefits of the drug.
Yeah, you'd rather have the disease.
Exactly. Right. So, no, I'm not a fan of all of that. So I'm leery of all of that just because they tell us what's in it. I don't necessarily believe that's what's in it.
Indeed. Well, with that being said, with all that, with all of that, you never know what the long-term effects can be, and that's what our sister Black Swan said. Overindulging in anything legalized or illegal is bad when you are not in control of yourself. Shout out to Peggy and Black Swan. It's good to see both of y'all. Thank y'all for participating in the sequel. BJ, he said, "What's up to everybody?" RaiderKev, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So, the thing about drug use in my mind, what the biggest problem in my mind, if you make a decision to do what you're going to do, okay, so be it. You hopefully you're an adult. Hopefully you're not a child, because we know children, do it also. But hopefully you're an adult. You made your decision. You want to do something. It screws up your life, right? And it affects you. Okay, that's fine. You made a decision. What I hate about drugs is that, and it's not just drugs. We can apply this to alcohol also, right? But the effects it has on the innocence of your family. You might have a drug problem, but now your family have to deal with it also. And that to me, that's what's horrible about it. You want to do something, you decide to do it, and you whatever effect it has on your life, right? So be it. You're an adult. You made your decision, but I didn't. So why do I have to suffer? Why do I have to pay? You know what I'm saying? And to me, that's the bigger tragedy, right? Because we all have free will. You can do whatever you want. You're free to do whatever you want, right? For the most part. But why are you going to drag me down with you? And when you talk about drugs, that's how I see it. Like I said, I'm from a small town, right? So I spoke about this earlier. The only two drugs really in my area were there was uppers and downers, right? Meth really wasn't even wasn't around. Cocaine use was very low, okay, and you had no heroin. So when I grew up, all you really had was uppers and downers, weed, which I didn't consider a drug, and cocaine use, which was really only for people who had a lot of money. So when crack hit, that's what changed the whole dynamics of drug use in our neighborhood, in my small town. So when it hit like everywhere else, right? It hit like a tidal wave, right? And so the reason why I feel so strong about what I talk about, the family is affected. I had a cousin that got caught up in crack, right? And this guy, he was a basketball athlete. He didn't have, he wasn't like pro caliber, right? But he definitely could have got an education off of his skills, right? And he got hooked on crack. So he lost his opportunity to get an education because of it. Then he started dragging his mother down. Then he started dragging us down, right? And the stories like are repetitive, right? The stealing, the lying, all the things that come with that crack use came about, right? And we tried our best to get him off of it, and it took. I mean, it was a hard struggle just to even him considering, right? He got caught up in the gang stuff and everything, and we got him out. We went through the me and a couple of buddies. It's like you beat it, what do they call it?
Intervention.
Got to beat to get out, right?
Mhm.
We went through that with him. Tried to go through. We went through rehab with him, the whole 9 yards, right? Helped him get a job, helped him to get on his feet, and I promise you, that was probably 8-9 months process. It didn't take 2 weeks out of rehab, and he's right back in the same situation. You know what I'm saying? So it was a constant weight on us, and that was just one. So can you imagine if it was multiple people in your family that you're close to having to deal with that? So that's why I feel like, drugs are like, man, it's just warning signs, man, because it's like the destruction it's like a tidal wave, It's not just you, it's everyone that's around you have to deal with it, And that's to me, that's the tragedy of it. Because we have to deal with it, and we chose not to be around it. I chose not to use it. But now we got to deal with it. And to me, that's one of the biggest tragedies of it, But at the same time, we're also seeing that with these oxys and these prescription drugs that are being misused. They're going on the same pattern. And like Brian, like you said earlier, it's just that instead of having street clothes on, they got a lab coat on. That's the only difference now, So I just, man, drugs to me, man, it's just, I don't know, man, it's horrible, bro. That's why, and some people might not understand why I'm so lenient or think of weed as not being the same, because I've never heard a weed head going down that road. He might be non-productive, but he's not dragging you down like that. Whereas if you're on crack, heroin, those type, meth, you hear the horror stories. That's why I separate it, because to me, it's not the same. But the legal thing, alcohol, we have heard stories of that. So, it's kind of like a fine line, and that's to me, when we had that conversation about alcohol, that's why, it's kind of funny how alcohol is legal, yet, marijuana isn't. And you don't have the same horror stories with weed than you do with marijuana, with alcohol. So, that's one of the things you got to raise your hand and say, hey, what's up? Something going on here, about that money. That's what it's about, though,
Well, I have a different outlook on it, but shout out to Peggy said, shout out to you guys. Great topics. Your conversations make you think and reflect on the decisions you make in life. Phyllis says, you can only clean for yourself. You can only get clean for yourself, not your family members. When they piss you off, you stay the fuck away from them and this sobriety shit. Hey, that drug thing is look, drug addiction is an ugly monster. The reason I kind of have a different outlook on it, and not because because I was thinking, I had some ideas before I bumped into the doctor, the PhD that is a heroin advocate. One of the things that make me look at drugs different is what do we categorize as drugs? Okay, Kev just gave scenarios in which you got people who are ruining their lives with what we know as street drugs, correct? And then he mentioned pharmaceuticals. Well, what about two of the biggest drugs on the street? Beef and sugar. Those killing people just as easy, because sugar and beef inducing diabetes, killing you from the inside. Guess what? Obesity, it contributes to obesity. I lost 130 pounds once. I had got up to an alarming rate, a weight, and I lost 135 pounds without working out. All I did was stop eating beef. All I did was stop eating beef. And guess what? Beef, they tell you, what they don't tell you is beef contributes to diabetes. Beef contributes to heart disease. Beef contribute, and then they don't tell you about sugar because just about everybody who will ever watch me is addicted to sugar. So we look at cocaine, heroin, and pharmaceutical drugs as this boogie monster, but hey man, headaches, asthma, hypertension, high cholesterol, it's because of our diet. Because guess what? And it also brings about stress. It's the song that Super MC KRS-One, he has called Beef. It's off his Edutainment album that came out in 1990. It's called Beef. That's the only thing. And he talks about how you eat the beef, the cow is stressed out from being slaughtered. And then you eat it and you put that anxiety, he's filled with anxiety. You put that anxiety in your body when you eat it. Now you got your own personal anxiety, the cow's anxiety, along with the drugs that they pump into the cow. So it's just the reason I even think this way is because of two people. One of them is a legendary basketball player for big time sports fans, and one of them is a legendary musician. And they both did the exact same thing. They both were addicted to cocaine. Assuming they both were freebasing cocaine. That's the impression I got. And Michael Ray Richardson and Marvin Gaye. When Michael Ray Richardson and Marvin Gaye left America, they no longer had drug addictions. They came back to America, and they went to a country that they could legally use cocaine any way they wanted to, and stop using cocaine. They came back over here, and they back on the addiction thing. So, what's going on in America is the question you have to ask. Is it the drugs, or is it society that's killing you? And that I don't have an answer to, and I'm not even going to pretend I have an answer. So I'm going to say I don't know. I don't know if drugs are a bad thing or not, because this PhD is saying he's been using heroin for X amount of years. He's sneaking heroin into America. He's getting it shipped from somewhere else, bringing it over here. He's using it currently. He might be high right now. When I get the video, I'll post it in the group. So we're looking at a situation to whereas I really don't know, because we got people who are functioning addicts. I had a friend named, I was going to say his name. Well, none of y'all know Bill Harris. Bill Harris. He was a functioning crack user. He used to sit next to me. You smell good every day, dress real nice, bought a new car every once in a while. And he used to sit there and me and him would talk about his use of crack cocaine. And I'm not advocating for anything, because everything ain't for everybody. Some of us will take one sip of alcohol and we done. We're alcoholics. So like Kev said, some of us take a bump of cocaine and shoot up a hair up your nose, and you are finished. And some of us, like Bill Harris, sit there at work every day. I knew a dude, I ain't gonna say his name. Well, man, I ain't seen homeboy in 30 years. My homeboy Seville. I used to work at a shoe store. Seville used to get high on the table in the break room, like, and he was one of the funniest guys, most personable people you ever met in your life. I knew him for years. And Seville drove he had a dope crib, drove a nice car, he kept money in his pocket. So what do we know? We know everything ain't for everybody, and we are consuming drugs on a regular basis. Sugar got us all in the headlock. Why is it that a drug? Because all of us using it. So I don't know. Big Illinois said HRap is dropping names like the game. But it's just strange to me when someone is on drugs, the person doesn't really want, deep down they really don't want to stop, no matter what their loved ones do to try to help. They won't be able to truly see the appreciation that the help gives, appreciate the help that they are given. That's Sister Black Swan. Hopefully, it's somebody refuting me. The difference is the government that hasn't figured out how to get a cut legally.
Right.
Boy,
Yeah.
boy. That Andrea is correct. And then that's Big Illinois cracking a joke. But yeah, man, and you know, I would love to hear you guys' opinion on what I just said. You know, I don't know. Because hell, I'm addicted to some shit. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm addicted to snacks.
Right.
But see, we don't look at snacks as
Same.
illicit drugs. But guess what? My
Yeah.
cholesterol is being affected. My weight is being affected. My blood pressure is being affected. I may get diabetes. I don't eat beef, you know, but I may get diabetes. We addicted to a lot of things that are drug-ish, drug-like. They're not labeled drugs, but like Harris once said at the end of that song, if you don't believe what I'm saying, try to stop.
Right.
And you get the same withdrawals with sugar as you do with cocaine.
Right. Well,
And one more thing, Kev, and then the floor is yours. I know more people that stop smoking crack than stop smoking cigarettes.
well, I was about to touch on that. So, a lot of times we look at a lot of these drugs and how hard they are to stop. Right. You spoke about how some people could do it and be functional. Right. Some people, once they get hooked, that's it. Right.
No, not even hooked. Just try.
Right. So one of the things I think about is cigarettes. Okay. Cigarettes, how they are multitude of ways of theories of how you should stop smoking cigarettes. Yet it's legal, right? So if the government is supposed to help us to keep us keep us away from something that's going to harm us, okay? We already talked about alcohol, so I'm gonna leave that alone. I'll touch on cigarettes, right? So you talk about cigarettes as being one of the hardest things for people to quit. There's another industry just on the quitting of cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? So how can the government justify the legalization?
Legalization.
I wish I was smart. I could pronounce that word well.
That's
but
Janice.
I can't. Yeah. But how can they justify that, right? And say it's good, it's okay, right? The FDA signed off on it, it's fine. Yet it's so addictive that another industry to get off of it has been created. But now you're going to tell me that crack, which it is bad, we know it's bad, but how is it not the same? You see what I'm saying? Like you mentioned, you said sugar. I'll bring up another one, salt. Okay? Salt is in everything we eat. And I don't mean normally produced. I don't mean things that we just pull off the shelf and it has salt in it. Everything that's produced has salt in it. Everything. And the reason why I know that, Janice is battling her issues with her heart, and salt is one of the things she has to monitor. We start monitoring and start realizing salt is in every single thing. Right? We're hooked on it. We're hooked. Is it different than cocaine? Yes, it is different. But it's still something it's a cycle. You're talking about how, we get addicted to things and how it affects other things. To me, I think, I'm not saying, well, it could be. It could be Big Brother just having this whole cycle. We're going to get them hooked on certain things, get them hooked on sugar, get them hooked on salt. We're going to get them hooked on bread, get them hooked on all these things they think are normal. Then we're going to have the medical industry coming with all these drugs to combat the problems that we're going to create by having all this bad food for them. So it's like a cycle. Right? One industry feeds the other. Right? And then we got the lab coats as the dealers. So, you know what I'm saying? So you make a valid point. You make an extremely valid point. You know, what is really the difference in those things? You know,
And if salt is in everything, how is it worse than cocaine? Cocaine ain't in everything.
right? There you
You
go.
know,
There you go.
you ain't got to monitor to see what's not in, what cocaine ain't in. But you got to. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You know, we look at these things. We look at these quote unquote street drugs and look at them as harsh, but that's the propaganda behind them. But again, why is it that a lot? I don't know personally a lot of people, but I know of a few people that left America and went other places where these illicit drugs, these things that we call illicit street level drugs, were legal, and they didn't go over there and keep getting high.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You got anything to add, Charlotte? My sister Teddy in the building. Thank you, Teddy.
I just wanted to say that the salt and sugar in the food industry, they're flavor enhancers, right? So definitely, they put that in everything, and that's why processed food is so dangerous. And I find it more disturbing that so many things that are banned in Europe and Asia are approved by our FDA for us to consume. All of that is disturbing. And then the prescriptions from the doctors are not designed to treat the illness. It's designed to treat the symptoms. So for me, like even things like Tylenol or ibuprofen, right? They're fever reducers, but we know that our body creates fever to fight off infection. So it just piggybacks on what you both have said, that these things that are supposedly safe for us, just how safe are they? We really don't know, and it's all about the money. We know that already. It's so much more profitable to keep us all sick and dead, right? Even the funeral industry. We talk about how much it costs to have a funeral, to bury our loved ones. These are major money makers for people in our country, as opposed to us being healthy and living long lives. There's no money in that.
Yeah.
So
I just had a thought. I just had a thought of the title, the Food and Drug Administration. So they already tied in. They're telling us. We just don't see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a vicious cycle, and you see more and more that everything that was like the food pyramid when we were children, meat, cheese, dairy, all that stuff is bad for you. So y'all was telling us to eat this for 50 years, and now all of a sudden don't eat it, but you were told me eat it for 50 years, and you wonder why. Like me, for years, my sisters, I kept their ass up for the night, couldn't breathe, snorting and shit all night. But I used to be heavy on milk. I don't drink milk anymore. Do you understand? Look, let me show you how messed up that whole listening to the food pyramid thing is.
yeah.
You know, for real, I ain't started tasting my food until about 1997 when I stopped buying milk, because now I could fully smell it, because people don't realize 80% of your taste is through your nose. You smell it, you taste it. It works that way. I ain't really started tasting my food until about 1996, 97. Because now I ain't buying milk anymore. And I ain't ingesting milk anymore. And then bam, whoa, this is better. So yeah, you know, I was tasting things with my eyes. I'm like, hey, this okay. But I didn't really get enriched until I stopped using that. So, and then mucus. Milk causes mucus. That's what a sinus thing was bothering me. Guess what? Mucus holds on to disease, which entices cancer. Sugar, something that brings about cancer. So that's why I said when you said when you use cocaine and heroin, you taking your family down an ugly path. But if you ingesting all this sugar, and sugar feeds cancer, that's the same battle. And guess what? It's easy to stop using cocaine and to beat cancer. You know, so it's just ugly situation.
Stop trying to stop trying to use sugar. See how
That's
hard
what I'm saying. I mean, that's my point.
Yeah,
You
stop
know,
that.
so
See
is
how
it
hard
is
that
it
is.
is it drugs? Is is it the drugs or is it the country? Drugs with the country. That's the thing. It's a sad thing. It's a sad commentary. What drugs are people? What drugs are people on the show on that they're showing on TikToks of people throwing themselves on the ground and just tripping? Oh, I have no idea what those drugs are. Ooh, shit. Shit, I don't know.
Right.
You throwing yourself on the ground. Next to the last question is this: is the allure of drugs really the fact that they're illegal? Is it that they're illegal and everybody want them, or is it that what draws people to drugs?
I think you mentioned it earlier. You know, the cool crowd. Want to be part of the cool crowd. You know, the allure of thinking that it's going to make you cool. It's going to give you a certain status. You know, for some people, I think it's an escape. Right? They want to escape reality for a moment and think that that drug is going to give them that opportunity. Right? It's just a fantasy. It's a fantasy of getting away from what you're having to deal with, you know, trying to make you cool. You know, if I take this, I'll be called part of the crowd, so I'll be cool. You know, I'm having all these issues. I just want to have some fun. Let me take this bump. You know, man, you know, everybody doing this crack. What it's about? You know, I ain't gonna get hooked. Let me try it one time. You know, so. I think it's just the allure of a fantasy of being able to do something that gets you away from your norm. If it's, like I said, if it's trying to make you cool, or if it's something that you're just trying to escape from, trying to get away from. I think that's the allure of drugs. It's giving you that fantasy of I'm giving you something that's going to take you away. You know, Calgon, take me away. Crack. Take me away. You know, that to me, that's the allure. That's what draws people in. You know, and we all know from experience, man, that's only an illusion, because once you go down that road, you wind up with more problems than you started. So, I think that's what it's all about, man. Just trying to escape, trying to get away, or trying to, like I said, trying to be part of the cool crowd.
Charlotte?
I think it's a combination of the fact that it's illegal. I think looking at my middle school students, I learned so much. Their generation is so far removed from ours, it's not even funny. Like, I think the legality of it, that's just a detail to them. I don't think it matters whether it's legal or illegal. I think Andrea touched on it. They are so into these TikToks. They're so into social media. They're so into their idols, right? So I never would have watched Juice WRLD had it not been the movie that Brian and the guys on the forecast had watched. That's just not my type of thing. And we literally saw this young man's dying on screen for 2 whole hours, just submerging himself in these drugs and surrounded by these people who just made me so angry because they just stood by and watched or partook of it, right? Because he was the money, he was the access to all of that. So I think I don't know so much about our age group, but definitely the younger kids, they're looking at all of that. It's not what we say, it's what we do. It's what they want in their lives, what they crave, what they want. Like so many of my kids, you know, with their grades, my class is the easiest class out of my 4 colleagues to pass. I make it that way on purpose. First of all, to keep them interested in learning about history so I could give them true history. Second of all, to help me build and maintain that relationship with them, because I think that's so crucial with these young people today. They need connections. They're too desensitized. They're too disconnected. They need people to keep plugging into them. And just looking at the things that I've dealt with this year, like the vaping, the blunts. I mean, not just joint. I'm talking blunt. The things that they have access to, and the things that I know from the stories that I've heard from my students, it comes from home. It comes from family members. That's where they're getting the access. That's what I mean about legal, illegal being a technicality, right? Because these are 12, 13-year-olds. They don't have access to vapes. They don't have access to blunts. All of that, they've all confessed that's come from home. So being legal or illegal, that doesn't matter to them. It's all about that image, that I don't even know what the popular term is now, the street cred, whatever, to look cool amongst each other. Even though they're doing stupid things to get in trouble, they're still popular because they're doing, the bad thing in the bathroom or wherever they're getting caught with it. So I think I'm like, Brian, I don't know. I'm at a loss, but this is what I see in them this year. Like the being legal or illegal, it don't matter. It what matters is how cool or how cool they look amongst their peers. That seems to matter to them. And again, they still have this idea of, I'm 12, I'm 13, I'm invincible, nothing bad's gonna happen to me, I'm gonna live forever. People die, yeah, but that's not me. That's not gonna happen to me. That's their mind frame. And they're impulsive. I want to do this now. I'm not thinking about later. I'm not thinking about consequences. I'm thinking about right here, right now. I had this problem at home. I'm getting this, I'm stressed out at school. So I'm going to do this because it's going to be my escape right now. That's all I'm thinking about.
Indeed. Again, man, I'm drawing a blank. I'm going to go to the chat room. Inner demons, social status, family history, just a few of the reasons why a person would try drugs. That's from a main man, Big Illinois. Salute to Big Brother Anu. He just stepped in the building. Good to see you, brother. Everybody who is in Facebook, hit that thumbs up, man. Hit the like when you see a picture. Like. Peggy said, curiosity killed a cat. That's the Lord trying to be that's the allure, trying to be like the in crowd. That's what Peggy added to the conversation. Well, me, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you. I mean, I ain't gonna pretend to know. It's just what really makes me wonder about this is there are countries all over the world that heroin, cocaine, these pills that they buy, these opioids, they're legal. You go into Walgreens and get them, I suppose, or you go to the red light district in some of these countries, and people are not addicted. This is what brings you back to this. It's the problem in the United States of America, because one of the things that trips me out is like we see TikTok, and like Swan said, it was some drug and people throwing themselves on the ground, and then people go flock to it. It's strange. Like, I'm a couch potato. I love television. I watch television like you would not believe. I watch television more than probably anybody in the world. And when I look at old TV, they had conversations. Drug addicts on there, they had a conversation. Alcoholics on there, they had a conversation. Gambling problem, you had a conversation. I mean, and this is just good times. Debbie Allen was a drug addict. JJ's girlfriend was an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. Florida's cousin was a gambling. He was. They had conversations that showed you the pros and cons. They showed you Debbie Allen was super pretty and everybody liked her, and big annoying idiot. Pretty girl, everybody wanted her. She was addicted to heroin. The JJ girlfriend, the family friend, they let their daughter drink and she ended up being an alcoholic. Florida's cousin came through, he had a whole bunch of money, and then he blew it all in the dice game. You're addicted. And now television just shows you the glory. And we, and this is not me defending hip hop culture. This is not me defending anything hip hop. But what we do is we put all the blame on hip hop, TikTok, and social media. Maybe the problem with the allure of drugs is all these children and these adults are out here thinking they're alone. Because when people think they're alone, they turn to their own solutions. When maybe the problem with drugs is that we judge people too damn much. We sit around and say, well, you know how he is, or you know how she is. I had a family member. I got a family member. His name. He's a guy, and he's had a bout with drugs. And I was being silly with some. I was like 14 years old, and I was playing with a bunch of my little cousins, and they used to try to grab hold of me, and I weave through them. In my mind, I'm like, I'm making sure my feet are light. They just like hanging out with the older cool cousin. And they keep trying to touch me. I had a cousin walk up to me and say, you're going to be just like our cousin who addicted to drugs. You play too much. Now, I could have went the wrong way with that. I mean, it'd be like, interesting. I just looked at him and just let it roll off my back. But if I ain't have my sisters, if I ain't have my mother, if I ain't have my grandparents, my aunts and uncles on my dad's side, my cousins on my dad's side, you never know which way I would go. So is it the drugs or is it society? Because these, this heroin, this coke, I mean, Billie Holiday in the 30s, in the 40s, 50s, Malcolm X, this heroin and cocaine thing ain't started in 86. I met a man 2 weeks ago. He said, man, he told me, he's my mother age. As a matter of fact, he was 2 years older than my mother. He was talking about how bad the drug situation was in the 50s and the 60s. So is it the drugs, it's the people, and it's the society? Because everything about American society is geared toward keeping you dumber. They don't want you to be educated. So I don't know. I don't know what the hell it is. I know what we're shown. This is why people, of course, what you guys have said, they're valid. Those are valid. But is it? And then it's sad. Okay, I'm a criminal justice major. Just by I love history. So every once in a while I go to FBI.com and look up these statistics. And this I didn't even do this for the show. I'm just doing this. I'm just at heart, I'm a couch potato nerd. So when ain't nothing on TV, I start looking up history. And I want to say about 3 years ago. Why did I look up this? I don't know. I looked up drug use, 1979 population. 9.3% of the population used drugs in 1979. 2017, when I looked it up, it was 9.3. It was 9.6 then. So we've only gone up small percentage points, but it's just in our face, in our face, in our face, in our face, in our face. So I know one thing. People don't talk to each other. People will text you a whole conversation, and that takes about a half hour when they could have just said, hey, RaiderKev, what time you going to be over my house? Okay, you want some pizza? Yeah, but we didn't have 75 texts to say the same thing we could have said in 30 seconds. We're impersonal. We lack empathy, and we judge people too much, in my personal opinion. That's where the addiction comes in. Because people are going to, if somebody trying cocaine, heroin, barbiturates, opioids, and alcohol for the first time right now. And some of them going to be hooked, and some of them going to go, not for me. And others going to just say, I do this every once in a while. Like my homeboy, I don't want to say no names, but my homeboy, he was addicted to heroin. And he said this is exactly, I said, hey, Chris, how you start? Kind of said his name. I said, yo, how you start? He said, hey, man, I was doing it with hanging out this chick every Saturday night. And then I started doing Friday and Saturday. Then I'm doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then he said, before I knew it, I was doing Friday to Thursday. And it started off as a game with him, but it's something else. So I don't know, man. They show on HBO, Zendaya,
Euphoria.
huh?
It's called Euphoria.
Yes, that's a powerful show. That's a powerful show. That's a Euphoria. That's a powerful show. Yes, and yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what the allure is, and like Ken said, it ain't gonna be me. But hey, man, nobody wakes up and say I'm addicted to this. Because guess what? I used to be a high jumping, fast running, slim dude, and shout out to potato chips, and I'm a fat, slow dude with a bad back. And that's the thing. That's really what I want. That's what I really want to put the spotlight on. We only look at street drugs as bad. All of this stuff is bad, and all of these drugs is you're addicted to. You know what? Here's the thing. I want y'all, and this just popped in my head just now. To me, and I'm an avid drinker, alcohol is more dangerous than all this stuff. Alcohol and cigarettes is the two most dangerous because guess what? You're allowed to do it, and it kills you quicker than they got stuff in Walgreens that you can drink that won't kill you quicker than alcohol. Alcohol poison. What's the difference in alcohol poison and overdose on anything? When you drink too much liquor, your ass is going to die that day, and not, oh man, I'm gonna die down the road. No, you drink enough liquor, you will end up in the hospital and about to die. I've seen it.
My grandfather died from cirrhosis of the liver. He literally couldn't stop. He would binge, and there used to be a hospital on Lincoln. You probably remember Brian Augustana. He would, I mean, the nursing staff probably knew him by name. And the minute he would come out, he go right back to the alcohol. And my dad and my uncle, my aunts, they all saw that. His death was really tragic because he screamed like that. It was like a death cry. But my family still drinks. They drank. My dad didn't die because of alcoholism, but all the way up to the day he died, he was drinking. So that's really tragic. The fact that my grandfather died from cirrhosis of the liver. They were literally telling him he was dying, and he was still, you couldn't stop.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know.
We've touched on it, man. I really don't. It's very hard to me to find the difference when you talk about the effects it have on the person, on the family. It's they mirror each other. You look at some of the drugs. You look at how cocaine, heroin, how it affects the family, how it affects the body, and you look at alcohol. And we brought in cigarettes, in the same facet, right? The effects it has, maybe not the effects that cigarettes might have the effect, but it has the same addiction as those other things. You know what I'm saying? So
I've had two friends contract lung cancer, RaiderKev, and they've never smoked a cigarette in their life, and one of them passed away. So we're talking secondhand smoke. So just like you said, but it's not even family members. Nobody in their family smoked. This is like from probably dining in restaurants, right? When smoking was allowed in the restaurants. All those years of dining in restaurants when other people were allowed to smoke, they contracted lung cancer. It just blows my mind because it's like, how do two people who've never had a cigarette in their life, right, contract this disease, and one has died from it?
Right.
It's tragic.
Yeah. So it's just, Brian, you got a good point, man. Who determines where the line is drawn?
Right. We get told these things are bad.
Right.
But dude, the square cigarettes, they got it on the pack. Look, people go. Like, I had recently, within the last 6 months, I had a person I know. I'm not gonna say what his relation is. Had a person tell me, people that's using that heroin, they stupid as hell, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
As they smoking a cigarette.
Right. Right.
And I didn't want to start the argument with him. I'm just looking at him like, man, shut the fuck up.
Right.
I mean, excuse me for the people who that offended. But I was literally saying, shut the hell up, man.
And they're so expensive now. And people talk about they're broke, but they budget for those cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
Nah, not even that, Charlotte. When you go buy some heroin, because I know people who sold heroin. I stood next to somebody selling some heroin. I watched people prepare heroin. You know what they didn't do? Put a stamp on that little baggie and say, this might kill you.
Right.
Your black ass going to buy something with it says, this going to kill you, you keep it up. So is the heroin dude crazy or are you crazy?
Right. Exactly.
See, but we justify these things, man.
Right.
We dude, I just saw a video. Speaking of, shout out to Black Swan for bringing up TikTok. I just saw a video on TikTok. I don't know if it's true. This lady could just pull that stuff right up out her behind. But it ain't shocking because, I mean, I don't know, because I like Life Series. I've liked Life Series since I was a little boy. Remember that? He likes it. Hey, Mikey. I asked my mama to buy it and messed around and liked it. My health food people, you know, these people who own this health food store, I had the Life in my bag. They was like, that's the best cereal you can eat. On this video I saw last night, she said, no GMOs, no nothing. That's if you're going to eat cereal, that's the one you eat. She said, all General Mills foods you can eat because, all Quaker foods you can eat because Quaker won't allow them to use GMOs. And, or whoever make Life, those people don't use GMOs, right?
Okay.
And the lady on the video last night said, it's some stuff in Frosted Flakes that erodes your brain. Fluoride that's in your toothpaste erodes your brain. And y'all don't know how to stop Alzheimer's? I'm just saying. Anyway, man, let's get to the last question. Because we could be on here all night talking about that.
For real.
Should drugs be legal? Charlotte, you got the screen. It's on you.
That's a touchy thing. I say no, but I feel like no matter what restrictions they come up with, no matter how long they keep it illegal, there's always going to be some loophole, right? There's always going to be some. I always feel like these masterminds, right, always use their power for evil. If they could just direct it towards good, just imagine what they could do. There's always going to be those ones who are going to find a way around, right, and still make it dangerous, still make it available, still make it illicit. That's the thing, that illicitness that we talked about as well. I think just like marijuana and alcohol and everything else, the government is going to find a way. The minute they find out, like Peggy said, how they can make their dollars, it's going to be legal. I think that's the only hold on anything that's illegal, is the government trying to figure out how can we profit off of it. So that's my thought on it. My hope is that, like Brian shared with us about the marijuana, those regulations are so stringent that if they don't meet certain standards, they get thrown out. I wish they would apply that to everything. I really do. But again, we know that it's all about the money.
Hey, before I go to Kev, I think they don't want to cut the rest of the people in. People already making backdoor deals with them drugs. Right. Because you can't. How you find Bin Laden in a hole in the ground in another country, but you can't find people sneaking cocaine from the border to border, coast to coast. But RaiderKev to Florida. I'm just trying to understand that.
Yeah. Excellent point. Excellent.
They don't want to cut. They don't want you to have a cut of their cut.
Right. This question to me is so complex. And you might say, well, how can that be complex, man? Drugs are bad. It's an easy question to answer, right? But I think we have touched on a lot of the subjects of why it's so complex. Because the effects of drugs, of the ones that we feel are harmful for us, those same effects occur with some legal drugs. some things that they say are okay for us, right? So how can I justify saying it's bad to be on crack, but it's okay to be on alcohol? And you're gonna say, Kev, they're totally different things, right? In essence, they are. Okay, I get it. They are different, right? But when you go to the extreme with anything, you can have the same effects. So, Brian, you mentioned earlier, you have functional addicts on just about every drug, right? We know we have people who drink all the time or are very functional, the casual drinkers, and there's no problem, right? So it's complex because to me, it's like in some essence, it's the same. But I'm going to say officially, my official answer is no. And it goes back to my original statement. I have this fear of once I try it, I'm hooked and I'm done. So whether that statement or that philosophy is right or not, that's embedded in me. So surely I've told you I've drank, I've told you I've smoked weed, right? Those two things, the weed is basically legal now. The alcohol is legal, right? When I think about drugs, I think about the cocaine, the heroin, the oxys, things of those natures, and I think about how addicted they are. So I know I'm being I know this is a hypocritical statement, right? But I think about those things, and I think about the dangers of how quickly you can get caught up and just lose everything. And that's my fear. The fear I would have if they was to legalize these things, my fear, whether it's valid or not, my fear is that it would ruin so many lives that, it would be a tragedy. That's the way I see it. But once again, I'll roll back to what we have been talking about. What is really bad for us? It's hard for me in my mind to say cocaine and alcohol the same. But we have talked about it. They have some of the same effects. But it's been drilled in us, right? That cocaine is so bad. It is something you got to stay away from. So that's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is those illegal drugs, if they were to be legalized, the tragedies that we would be faced with, because in my mind, those things are so addictive, they would drag people down, and it would just be a true tragedy. So that I do not think that this should be legal. I don't know, man. It's just there's so many things going on in my mind right now. It's kind of crazy, right? Because I think about the things we talk about, and I think some of the things we talk about are so valid, right? And it's such a huge contradiction. Sometimes it's hard to make some of these arguments, because when you think about the opposite side, or you think about it's like, well, if you're going to apply that to this, why are we not applying it to that? And that's the big question. But I do think, in essence, in the big picture, I do think there's a difference in like cocaine, heroin, oxys, those things. I do feel that there is a difference. There's a different level of addiction, a quicker addiction, a more dangerous addiction, Whether I'm right or not, we've talked about it, and perhaps I'm not. But that's just the way I feel, and that's just the way I see it.
Well, I think drugs should be legal. Again, I just look at the world. You got multiple countries all over the world where cocaine, heroin, and whatever you want to do is legal, and their crime is lower, their violence is lower, and things of that nature. Once you make things legal, that comes along with education. You educate people about things, the harmful effects on things, and you may put it in a situation to whereas you may get the same results. Who knows? But it's just, we look at things. We've been cultivated, curated into believing this is bad, this is good, this is not that bad, this is not that good, is because people use things casually and they go, oh, that's okay, but it's killing you, but it's okay. And, you know, it's the same people that tell you don't eat pork will drink your ass under the table. So, I don't know, man. I mean, if you educate people on whatever it is and stop pretending, you know, if the government stop pretending that the boogeyman is out to get you and this is going to get you and this is going to ruin your life, maybe we can have an honest conversation about some of these things. But again, Michael Ray Richardson, Sugar Ray, and Marvin Gaye, those are minute. They could be the fly in the ointment, or they could be a microcosm of what happens when you allow people to do what they want to do. Because I can remember when my mother, when I was a younger person, my mother had this strict rule: be your ass in the house by 9. Then when I became a young adult, don't come in my house after midnight. You better be your ass in my house. I don't give a damn if you're 400 years old. Come in my house after midnight, it's going to be a problem. And I fought that and got slapped the hell out of and yelled at and put on punishment for years. The moment I got my own place, I started bringing my ass in the house at 9 o'clock. So I know drug use and things of that nature, they've been projected to us as this wild boogeyman. But I know it's human nature to try things that people say is wrong. Don't do that. It's going to get you. Need shit up for the sea. And you see, and some of us get caught up in addiction. Others of us go, it ain't for me. So I would make it legal. That would enhance education. And at that point, you can go get some, like you got dispensaries for marijuana. Before they made marijuana legal 100 years ago, people was using it, walking up and down the street using it. Now, you see people, it's the lines outside of dispensaries here in Chicago, like a damn drug line. So I don't know, but I would make it legal, forcing people to educate themselves on it, and you'll see what happens. Because hey, guess what? It's illegal, and the drug rehabilitation centers are packed. The prisons are packed. Alcohol is illegal. It's legal now. Alcohol rehabilitation, Alcoholics Anonymous. It ain't no halls that have those damn meetings that are empty right now. So, could it really get worse? I don't know.
That's a good point.
With that being said, man, thank y'all for participating. Next week we're gonna have some fun. I came up with some random questions. I'm gonna send them to Charlotte and Kev. As soon as I hit in, I'm gonna send them to Charlotte and Kev. They got a whole week to come up to. It ain't like, oh wow, it's silly, but we got a little fun. You know, like silly questions. Enough of this deep stuff. Oh man, drugs, alcohol, crack. You know, enough of that. We got a little fun next week. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please continue to hit that like button. Those shows that come across the bottom of the screen, I need y'all to support those shows. Even like Elevate that's on at the same time. Nothing wrong supporting that, because this is a podcast. It is on-demand entertainment. It's cool to be in the chat room, but guess what? You get the same information if you watch it tomorrow. And as long as you hit that like button, I get the love. So I want to thank y'all. I want to, as usual, I want to thank the people who I get inspiration from. That is the Ghetto Boys, Talib Kweli, Tariq Nasheed. I try to do it about hard, but I can't. Nori from Zoe Williams, Corey Holcomb, Craig Smith from Greg Facts, Al Sharpton, Heather B, Super Dope Brother Clay Kane, my favorite, Larry Daniel Favors, the most informed person I've ever seen in my life, Dr. Greg Carr, the Queen Mother Karen Hunter, and the Dean of Black Power, Audio Black Power. He has a book, Radioactive, and it is short for him being on the radio talking about black things, and he's an activist, radio activist. He goes, buy the book. It's only $10. It's only $10. If you got Amazon Prime, send me $10. I'll send it to you. I got Amazon Prime. Send me $10 at the Cash App, but you can even Cash App it to them. Send it to me. Support the brother Joe Madison. I mean, he's the elder. Send me that. Say you want a radioactive book. I'll send it to you on my Amazon Prime. Get the brother said his name is Joe Madison, the Black Eagle, the dean of Black Sports, Black Talk Radio, and like he said, talk where talk empowers and becomes action. With that being said, man, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for always supporting us, man, and telling a friend to tell a friend to tune in. And if anybody that don't like what we talking about on here,
you better shut your white mouth. I'm not kidding you.
We lust for that cheese, we lose sleep, dreams of that cream. We killing our teens, they dying for this American dream. Them government schemes, they turning us to hustlers and fiends. We hustling trees, them politicians smuggling green. Chasing that cheese, got everybody stressed in the streets. Pardon me for speaking freely, let it breathe. Evangelists preach the congregations out of their seats. They writing them checks for tithes, now as people can't eat. She stripping for change for school, now she giving them brain. She used to that loot, she earning, now she giving them strain. He new to this game, but hungry, so he cooking his cane. He getting that paper, but then they gave him two to the brain. It's rules to this game, but hustlers never hustle for fame. The spirit of greed is grimy, so we struggle to change. They put us in chains to take away our African names. But if we submissive and don't resist, then who do we blame? It's all a game, man, these Europeans staking they claim. And you a victim of their game plan, you thinking they ain't. You thinking they saints, remember all them niggas they hang. Killed our women and our children, all our leaders is slain. They gave us Obama, but that nigga was hoping for change. But Zimmerman is killing niggas and he free. Shit is crazy, babies having these babies and getting checked. But keep the child from they pop to rip his heart out his chest. Our rappers was leaders and now they in the booth in the dress. Spitting bullshit and making more but giving us less. They taking our sound and changing ours, dumbing it down. They taking our jobs and homes and they shutting us out. They taking our kids because it ain't a man in the house. They locking us down, but soon they gon' be wiping us out. They told our women they was too independent to need a man. They told our brother he was too insignificant to advance. It's all a game, man. These Europeans staking they claim. And you a victim of their game plan. You thinking they ain't. You thinking they saints. Remember all them niggas they hang. Killed our women and our children. All our leaders is slain. It's all a game.